The night was cold in Moscow, the kind where the snow muffled every sound and the wind whistled like an ancient warning through the empty streets. Beyond the Kremlin walls and the tightly patrolled Red Square, the Russian Prime Minister's private residence stood silently under a blanket of frost. Layers of armed guards, security systems, and high walls gave the illusion of an impenetrable fortress, but even fortresses have cracks, and a small group of professionals had spent months studying them. They were not reckless burglars but highly trained operatives, men and women who understood the art of vanishing as much as the art of breaking in. For them, tonight was not about money, it was about information and leverage, the kind of prize that could shift the balance of power. The leader of the crew, codenamed Vok, had once served in Russia's own special forces before turning rogue. He knew the rhythms of government security, how guards rotated, where cameras often had blind spots, and even which parts of the residence had outdated systems due to bureaucratic neglect. His team included Katya, a hacker with hands as quick as lightning, Mikhail, a former demolitions expert, and Sergei, a climber who could scale walls like a shadow. Each had a reason to be there, but all were bound by one thing: a mission to infiltrate the Prime Minister's house and steal a black leather briefcase rumored to contain secret documents tied to an international energy deal. As the clock struck 2 a.m., the operation began. Katya sat in a disguised van a few streets away, her laptop glowing as she hijacked the surveillance feeds. Guards walking their perimeter patrol appeared on her screen in ghostly black and white images. With a few keystrokes, she looped the footage, creating the illusion of routine stillness. Meanwhile, Vok and Sergei, dressed in black thermal suits, moved along the icy walls of the estate. Sergei fastened a grappling hook, the rope slicing against the silence, and the two men scaled up like spiders against glass. Inside, Mikhail waited with tools to disable alarms once the entry was made. Within minutes, they were inside the grounds, crouching in the shadows of tall pines that swayed against the winter wind. The mansion loomed ahead, its windows glowing faintly with golden light. Vok signaled with his hand, and they advanced toward a service entrance near the back. Katya disabled the alarm remotely, and Mikhail swiftly picked the lock, slipping the door open without a sound. The scent of polished wood and faint tobacco smoke lingered in the air, traces of the Prime Minister's habits. The crew moved like phantoms down the narrow hall, each step calculated to avoid creaks on the floorboards. The briefcase was said to be kept in the Prime Minister's private study, a chamber lined with dark oak shelves and portraits of Russian leaders. They knew they had only 15 minutes before the next shift of guards would come inside for rounds. Sergei kept watch while Vok and Mikhail searched through drawers, safes, and cabinets. Katya whispered instructions in their earpieces, guiding them toward the right location. Then, behind a false panel in the desk, Vok found it, a matte black briefcase with silver latches, heavier than it looked. His pulse quickened, this was the treasure they had risked everything for. Just as they prepared to leave, an unexpected sound froze them in place, the muffled bark of a dog. The Prime Minister's security detail included trained shepherds, and one had wandered near the study. The animal's nose pressed against the gap in the door, sniffing the air with suspicion. Sergei motioned frantically, pulling out a small piece of meat laced with a sedative, tossing it toward the animal before it could raise an alarm. The dog chewed, whimpered softly, then collapsed quietly on the carpet. The silence returned, but the tension was electric, the seconds now feeling razor thin. On their way out, disaster nearly struck. A guard unexpectedly altered his route, walking directly toward the service entrance as they approached it. Vok gestured, and the team froze against the wall, holding their breath in the shadows. The guard stopped, lit a cigarette, and exhaled clouds of smoke that drifted lazily into the night. After what felt like eternity, he turned away, muttering to himself, and disappeared into the snow. That was their opening. They slipped out of the house, moving with controlled urgency, the briefcase clutched tight against Vok's chest. Once outside the walls, they raced toward the van where Katya was waiting, her fingers still dancing across the keyboard to maintain the illusion of normal surveillance feeds. She slammed the laptop shut as the team piled in, and the vehicle sped off into the sleeping city. Behind them, the residents stood untouched, none the wiser to what had just occurred. For the Prime Minister, the day would begin as usual, with morning briefings and official meetings, until he discovered the absence of the briefcase and the storm of chaos it would unleash. By dawn, the robbery had already become the most closely guarded secret in Moscow. Only a handful of insiders knew, and they scrambled to track down how such a breach was even possible. Rumors spread through intelligence circles that foreign agents were involved, while others whispered it was an inside job, orchestrated by enemies within the government itself. For Volk and his crew, however, the mission was only half complete. The real danger lay in what to do with the information inside the briefcase. Selling it, revealing it, or using it as leverage could change their lives forever, but it could also paint a target on their backs that no one could escape. In the cold light of morning, Moscow continued its routine as if nothing had happened, but in the shadows, the theft of the Prime Minister's secrets marked the beginning of a new, dangerous game. For some, it was the ultimate act of defiance. For others, it was treason of the highest order. But for the thieves, it was survival, a single night's work that could unravel nations.